Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I got a couple of closed Facebook roadie groups on Facebook, which are called Death by Loadout and The Backstage Pass. Come check us out over there. We're having some fun. Tonight, I got next to me my good friend, Kyle Thomas. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. How about yourself, big dog?
Oh, man, crazy day. Lots of wacky, wild, fun stuff going on in here. You guys did that show today with Brad and Greg.
Yeah.
Greg Price, Brad Maddox. I guess it was that some Google-related thing or something. I'm not exactly sure what the details were on that.
I don't know what the details were. It was for a group, and we did a little...
I think there's an Avid connection to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the content was for an Avid connection. Regardless, we knocked that out. Then we had Cole Panther, singer-songwriter, in here. We were helping him with some production.
Yeah, he went through like 3 or 4 songs,
I think at least 3 or 4, yeah, right in there. And, you know, great singer, longtime friend. We've been knowing him, God, for 30 years or so, kind of a Bay icon.
Goes deep, huh?
Yeah, he's a great guy. And
Awesome.
so it was nice having him in here for that. And then there was the Case Push. I believe they were calling it like the death of the industry funeral or some shit like that. But we contributed some guys and 20 cases. I think Kyle Anderson went on that, and our good friend Winston Dama. I call him Winston Dame because that's how it's spelled, and he's over there right now playing around on the S6L having fun. And so, but I'm trying to remember. His actual name is Winston Dama. We've known him all these years. I've been calling him Winston Dame, and he's been letting me get away with it. It's absolutely, I would have smacked me around like 5 years ago.
You keep on calling him the wrong name.
It's Dama. He'll be next week's guest, by the way. He's an incredibly fascinating cat. What's going on with you?
Yeah, I mean, we just had Paulie Montero in and his band, My Heavy Memory. I think we're setting up some live streaming stuff with him, so
that's correct.
Look forward to that. We also got another Scoville meeting today on the S6L. I think this marks 3 months of classes now.
Yeah, and it's
quite
solid.
Substantial.
Yeah. I think he's to a point where he wants to. We were talking with him earlier, me and George, and he was saying that he was going to scale it back to once a month because of some other things and because of where the training is at.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all I feel like Sound Image as a whole, anybody that's been contributing to it and listening, it just must be an absolute beast on the console. Because I feel very confident on it. I can imagine how everybody else would feel after taking his class. So
his classes are, extraordinarily informative. He's really good and patient as a teacher. You know, you couldn't be asked for a better teacher.
No, it's a blessing in disguise for sure.
Yeah, I don't even think it's in disguise. I think it's just a straight up blessing.
Yeah, you might be right.
And although he doesn't want me to call him Bob, I did on the phone with him today. It was actually during the week before we opened up the training to the rest of the group. George and I were on a Zoom call with him. And, it's the nature of roadies. We're just busting each other's balls through the whole thing in a very loving way. But, yeah, I think the class went well today, and the guys are super happy. And
we also got this Big Love concert event pretty soon for the benefit.
About? Talk about it.
It's Rick Allen and Lauren Monroe's project. They've been making some music for quite some time now, but their new project's pushing for the Sweet Relief benefit, along with Raven Drum Foundation Project Resilience, I think, as well as.
I believe that's what it's called.
And it's all just supporting, roadies and people in our industry that, need some help right now. So
in these tough times, kind of struggling. I believe there's also a mental health component to this mission that talks about suicide prevention and where to reach out for folks if you need them. When there's a bunch of they're heading it. So Rick Allen of Def Leppard and Lauren Monroe are that's husband and wife, and they have this great band. Wonderful band.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, really sound great. Check them out on YouTube. There's a wonderful song called Big Love that's fascinating. And she has a page on Facebook called the Big Love Army or Big Love Army. That's a very sweet place to be, good place to get your head straight, and there's a lot of resources there and good, kind people. Check that out. But we're attaching stars to it now to be part of the benefit package. So it's looking. I don't want to jump out too early, but there's some really impressive, important people that I think will make it more of a an easier sell. People will want to tune into this. So we'll keep you posted. I was just going to name a bunch of rock stars' names, but it may be too early. Let's wait for some confirmations, and then we'll get into it.
Did we see Kenny Wardell today as well?
Kenny Wardell came in.
I think he stopped by. I thought I saw him in the office.
I'm going to have to tell you about this after the show because there's some interesting developments. Good, all good. I don't want to use interesting and pejorative. But he came by. So Kenny Wardell is the founder and owner of Bay Area Music, also known as BAM or the BAMmies. Also BAM Zoom and BAMmagazine.com and BAM.com. So these are all obviously things related to each other, but serve in different ways for Bay Area music. And he's a legend, as you know, in the Bay Area scene. Everybody from Greg Kihn, The Journey, Carlos Santana, Metallica.
Well, last show,
Chris
I think
Isaac,
the day before our last show, date's slipping me, that was Dan Ashley's inauguration.
Yes.
For the head of the BAMmies.
He turned over kind of the helm. Now, he's still Kenny. No, I mean, he's still hands-on in some ways. And Dan Ashley, kind of a legendary news talent in the area, newscaster guy, all-around good guy. He turned over the presidency of the foundation, specifically the foundation, which is a Music Cares kind of thing, And that was very nice.
Yeah, what a sweetheart.
Well,
I mean, I like both of them very much. We've been in contact for, several weeks before that, just setting up the whole event.
Yeah.
Been such a reasonable guy. Very creative.
Mm-hmm. He's a marketing expert, logistics expert. He's just the guy that gets things done when it has come to this. Through many. I met him in the middle '80s. I was with a band called Eddie and the Tide, and I'd go into it. But the band won a bunch of awards, and we came in to to accept the awards, and Journey came out and gave the awards to us, and then we played a set or played a song or two, and we've been hanging out with him ever since. He's a dear man.
No shit.
But without further ado, it's good to hear you're doing well in all these things, and we're busy in a way, not the busy we traditionally get up to, but in a way. But I'd like to talk to our guest now. He's a fascinating cat. He's a good friend, and we love him very much. He is the caterer to the stars. There you go. He's a caterer to the stars. He's Steve Orgain. How are you doing, Steven?
Great, Vinny. Thanks.
Oh, man, it's so good to have you here. Buddy, I got to ask you, how did you get into this business? How did you decide that it was, obviously you have some affinity for food and making wonderful, yummy, tasty foods. How did you get in the business and start doing catering for rock shows?
Well, I opened up a delicatessen and catering business in Walnut Creek back in 1985. And one of my loyal customers right off the bat just approached me one day and said, "Hey, I've got a couple of shows coming up. Do you think you could help us out and cater them?" And my eyes lit up.
Yeah.
I love music, so I said sure. And so he had me. We did two shows. The first show was at the Concord Pavilion, and we did Sha Na Na. And then the following week, we did a show at the Paramount Theater with Del Shannon.
Wow.
And so I was kind of hooked. I introduced myself to the management of both places. Said, "Hey, I'd love to do this, and I'd love to work with you more." And so I got the opportunity to. At the time, the Concord Pavilion was run by the city of Concord, and I got an opportunity to put together a bid to do some shows in the future. And the production manager at the time was a guy named Bill Keithlin, guy I loved to death. We did 10 years at the Concord Pavilion. But anyway, he came and met me at the business and said, "Well, we'd like to use you at the Concord Pavilion." And I thought, "Oh, this is awesome." I said, "Give me the dates so I can put them on my calendar." And he says, "Well, we want you to do all the dates." So from like I believe it was 1986 until about 1998, we did virtually every show at the Pavilion.
I definitely ate some of those shoes myself a few times, and yeah, great place. It's a unique spot, and a lot of good bands come and go through there.
Yeah.
And so I bet that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
I want to get in. I'm gonna jump around here a little bit. It's kind of the way I interview. We won't go linearly. We're gonna go. So I've done some shows out at Alcatraz Prison Rock the island, or the Rock as we call it up here. It's very rare to be able to do shows out there. It's not something they do frequently. But you've done some shows out there, and I know the challenges that we've faced bringing out rock gear.
Yeah.
What was it like doing shows on the Rock for you? Catering big rock shows, and which ones did you do?
Well, we did 2 years in a row. We did shows. The first one was to kick off T-Mobile when they first got in the business.
Okay.
And then they followed it up the following year as well. So I got a call, and I love this. I love like answering the phone or looking at an email, and all of a sudden there's this like challenging, great event coming up.
Sure. It's
and
exciting.
I could raise my hand and say, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And when Alcatraz came up, I jumped all over that. I had to take my truck and a refrigerated trailer and some other stuff to Point Richmond, and they put it on a sling, put it on a barge, and took it over there.
Right.
And then I met them over there.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting that my first time really on Alcatraz. I was born in San Francisco, and I'd never been to Alcatraz.
I think we think of it as a little touristy.
Yeah,
So we tend to not
I
frequent it. Yeah.
So I was with one other guy, and we went and we spent the whole day setting it up. And this was during Fleet Week, so we got the Blue Angels flying over our heads.
Yeah,
and
super fun.
And it's like about 75 degrees, and most of the time I dress just like I am right now. I'm in shorts and a polo, and
Yeah.
so we're out there all day, and we're not really paying attention, and you have to take the ferry from San Francisco over there. That's how everybody gets there.
Correct.
That's working the show.
That's right.
And so me and my guy were out there, and all of a sudden, it's getting a little late, and we asked them, well, when's the ferry come back? They said, well, there's not another
Yeah,
ferry.
you missed the ferry.
I missed the ferry. And they had a shuttle. They had a tugboat that came out at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And that was going to be our ride home. Well, now it went from 75 degrees to, it must have been 40. We were freezing.
Oh, it gets cold as hell on that island.
Yeah.
It can be cold in the daytime. Just the wind ripping through there under the gate.
Oh, my goodness. So,
Yeah.
we
It's
weren't
it's a
prepared. I
thing.
mean, nothing. So
Yeah, that
me
sounds
and
rough.
the one guy I was working with just kind of cuddled up in a corner until that boat came. But the thing is that, we finished setting up, but we had to have breakfast up by 7 a.m. So we get back to San Francisco at like 3 o'clock. And I had my truck meet me there. We reloaded it on the ferry at 6 o'clock and went back over there and got breakfast up.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It sounds like a rough
But what
20,
a trip.
36
I mean,
hours.
Alcatraz
It's a
is
treat.
just awesome to work
Yeah.
on. It was my first time being on the island. I got an opportunity to tour it on my own.
Yeah, and they paid you
Self-guided tour.
to boot. You usually got to pay, and it's not cheap to go there.
No.
They really get the tourists on that one, and it's a fascinating place. No doubt about it. The history is rich.
But I
and-
learned we were there for 7 days.
Yeah.
And the rest of the week, I brought layers of clothes.
Oh, yeah. I would say that makes perfect sense. I screwed up in the beginning, in the intro of this. I didn't mention that you run an amazing company called Chef's Touch. Tell us about Chef's Touch. What's the mission over there? What's the mission statement, as it were, the elevator speech on Chef's Touch?
Well, I have a deli and a catering business still. Our deli is still open.
Okay.
We cater to all kinds of stuff, but mainly to the entertainment industry.
Yes, sir.
And so, our goal, number one, is to stay busy.
Yeah.
And just keep doing what we're doing.
Well, we'll certainly we benefit from your largesse every so often. Tuesdays, sometimes Thursdays, you come in with some wonderful treats, because I guess you get an account nearby, right, where you feed a lot of
Yes,
people,
yes.
the corporate thing, and we get some of the overflow. It's really nice. You're spoiling us, Steve, and we thank you very much for it. We remember 1989. We had a very large earthquake. An extraordinary earthquake that toppled a bunch of bridges and buildings, and it was a thing. It was pretty rough. That night, my brother and I were at Candlestick Park, where the World Series was taking place, where chunks of the building were falling off on people and shit. And you were at the Concord Pavilion catering to a Stevie Nicks Hooters show.
Hooters, yes.
Tell us how that went once the earthquake came at 5:17. And what happened? What preceded that?
Well, we were driving to the show, and we were at a stoplight, and my truck just started rocking.
Yeah.
And I thought, the first thing I thought is somebody was playing a joke on me and they jumped on the back and were like, while we were at the stop sign, getting my attention.
You hoped that was what was going on.
Up and I saw the telephone wires just rocking. And I thought, oh man, we're having an earthquake. And we traveled up to the Concord Pavilion, and everybody was on kind of lockdown. A lot of the audience had started to arrive, and we went ahead and set up dinner. And they told us that, everybody had to kind of stay there until it was safe to drive. And we fed all the entertainers. They all stayed. Stevie Nicks, at the time at the Concord Pavilion, all the meals were served below the stage.
Sure.
And it was like kind of an orchestra room, and they had a grand piano for people to practice and that kind of stuff. And Stevie got on that grand piano and played for like 2 hours straight.
She was working out her
was
nerves.
her therapy,
She had some nerves over that, and you can't blame her. That was a hell of an earthquake.
Yeah.
But that was, what a treat, huh? Having
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks up on the stage at Concord playing the piano in a therapeutic way to all the
Well, it's funny
assembled.
because I was a huge fan of the Hooters at the time.
Great band.
And I'd
Fun.
worked with Stevie Nicks before and Fleetwood Mac, and so I was more looking forward to seeing the Hooters.
Well, at that time, from, what was that, 89? They were killing it right then.
Yeah.
They kind of had the radio all locked down. They had a couple, 3 songs that were really big, and I could understand that. Yeah, no doubt. I know you have some experiences with the one and only Bill Graham. Bill Graham Presents, BGP. Talk to us about that. I know that you actually have an interesting story about the last time you saw Bill Graham.
Well, I worked with Bill Graham Presents for a while, and most of the time I didn't interact with Bill.
That's not uncommon to work with BGP.
He'd pass by and everything else.
Sure.
I'm the caterer or whatever. But we were doing Huey Lewis and the News at the Pavilion, and it was kind of a stormy night.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people know, the conditions, that kind of stuff. And
Sure.
him and his girlfriend and his pilot came in, and they were the last guys in the dining room. So they sat down with me, and it was the first time I really got to chat with Bill.
First and last, sadly.
First and last, yeah.
Yeah.
I had,
Are you telling me that you had, just so I understand you correctly, because Bill Graham's, legendary in this industry, this business. What he did in so many ways was the beginning, was a template for what we do now. So you're at the Concord, you're doing a show, and Bill and his gal and their pilot, his helicopter pilot, which he was notorious for getting around in his helicopter, had dinner with you. And then the next time you hear about Girl Graham was when? After he...
Yeah, actually driving home.
So you're driving home, and the guy you had dinner with a few hours earlier he's died because his helicopter has flown into some transmission line.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So weird. Isn't it strange, some of the stuff that we get involved with and happens around us? Yeah, wow. It was a huge loss. I mean, what a loss. Luckily, he left it in the company in a position where it could largely run by itself, and with the help of the people he had trained up and trusted.
It was it was the beginning of, before, when Bill Graham Presents was still Bill Graham, most of my experience in this business was working at the Concord Pavilion, and Bill Graham Presents was just starting to book the acts there.
Sure.
Originally, it was the city of Concord that
Correct.
booked it all.
They had a booking agent out of the city, yeah.
I've always thought he's just an amazing man. I love the music industry. I loved Woodstock, all the things that he was famous for, and to be able to actually sit down and talk with him. And it was just like you and I are talking. We just sat down and kind of chatted it up. And
when he wasn't in business mode, when he wasn't making sure everybody was doing their job right, he was a very affable person.
Yeah.
When it was time to make sure shit was happening, and you didn't sit on Bill Graham shows until after sound check, meaning everything was dealt with.
Yeah.
There was no sitting. He would not cotton to that very well. He'd get right on your ass, and a lot of times you might be asked to go home. So he was a tough guy to work for, but he made us all better at what we did, and therefore the product, the end result was always better, and I miss him to this day. So unique story, and I guess somebody has to have their last supper with folks before they go, and wow, just unusual. Treasure Island. I know now. Treasure Island is an island off of the Bay Bridge.
yes.
And it's a very special, unique place. They had a music festival for years, and you were their caterer from what, 2006 to 18, I think.
Yeah,
quite a
actually,
run.
18. The last, I think, 17 was the last year. They actually did it on Treasure Island, and then the next year they did it at the Harbor Park or something, kind of a similar type of venue, but in Oakland, not at Treasure Island.
Right.
Still called it the same festival, but.
Well, that's just brand name
Yeah,
recognition type
yeah.
thing. But they have some huge ass shows out there. I mean,
Yes.
these were not small events. Any special logistical challenges to that? I mean, it is a little island, and it's off.
Yeah, it was for us. It turned out to be a segue to do Outside Lands, because it was the first really big music festival that we did, where each day we had over 20 artists and multiple stages.
Yeah.
And doing music festivals, we not only do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but we do a late night meal. So we're pretty much working around the clock.
Yeah, I know you guys are killing it on those jobs.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
so,
talk about killing it. Well, go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Treasure Island wasn't like Alcatraz.
No.
We actually.
It's actually a way to drive off of it.
For
if
most
you
of those
want
years at
to.
Treasure Island, weather was really good. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Treasure Island, I don't know, it's microclimate-wise, it operates slightly different, and it's considerably larger too. But yeah, I don't remember having the many shows we've done there. I don't remember it ever not being really good.
Yeah.
I think we had one where it was all fog.
And what a
kinda rolled
beautiful
in early.
backdrop.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you're looking at the city,
the whole
and,
city and,
yeah.
the Golden Gates across the way, and it's all.
That's one of those events that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours, but it's fun at the same time. So you don't think about it.
Yeah. Very
Next-
lucky. You're getting
yeah.
paid to be out in a very special place doing a special thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned Outside Lands. Now Outside Lands is quite a concern. I mean, this is 7 stages, takes up the whole of Golden Gate Park, and for people who don't know, Golden Gate Park is massive. It's very big. How do you cater? And I believe you did that 2008 to 17. So you have 9 years in that sucker.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a thing. And I've eaten on that one. I've eaten your food, I think, every one of those years in that giant tent. Yeah. Talk about that. How do you feed 7 stages and all the artists and all the hands and something like that? It's a 3-day thing. So when do you get there? Do you get there Wednesday, Thursday?
That was, I think, a 10-day event, because I think we had 3 or 4 days of build days, plus the show days, plus loadout day.
Sure.
I think probably that's just like this business as far as catering is concerned. You walk in with one notion of what you're going to be doing, and then things get added on. They just, you're
Change
constantly
orders.
getting this new project, and
Sure.
and can you do this, and can we add another 100 meals tomorrow, and all that kind of stuff. And it was a challenge, but once again, I think just once you get into it, once you get started, with the day, you just kind of go with the flow and make it all happen. Now, I have to say, for me, I think we had about 65 employees working each day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And without tremendous employees and leaders that work with me, I mean, you can't make it happen. We had 26 artists and, like you said, 7 stages, and somebody's got to run all of that. And plus, we're feeding 600-700 people per meal, and we've got that dreaded 2 a.m. meal to do as well. And without just an incredible staff, and that's what makes it happen. And kudos off to all the people that have worked with me over the years, and.
Yeah, no 2 ways about it. That it's, first of all, it's a logistical nightmare out there to put the shows on, and your part of it is no small part. And without you, the rest of us would be hating it. I mean, it can be rough out there. The hours are ridiculous. And like you said, there's a ton of artists. It's very spread out.
Yeah.
And but it's thrilling. It's one of the best in my mind. And I've been to a lot of different festivals, and Outside Lands, San Francisco's Outside Lands. So usually about 100,000 in attendance per day.
Yeah.
Pretty special stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they went to the best, of course.
We got a pretty good question that just came up.
What do we got over there?
Charlie
Oh, you
asked,
can
does
see the
Steve's
questions.
company tour with acts, with any acts?
Charlie asked us. Charlie's Ricky. Hi, Charlie. This is a good friend of the show. I cannot say this enough about this one. He's my favorite person in many ways. Other than my beautiful, loving, amazing wife and her incredible mother, Beverly, who are watching. Hi, girls. Charlie Zaricki's asking you, do you do any catering on touring shows? Do you tour?
No.
You're regional thing.
Yeah, we've been asked to tour before.
Sure.
But the most we've done is do a Northern California stint with the band.
Sure.
So
That makes sense.
one that comes to mind is we did a show with Bruno Mars, I think in San Jose, and then we did them in Oakland. Then we went up to Sacramento.
Yeah.
They actually asked us. They said, will you tour with us? This has been amazing.
Yeah. Great tour. That
And
would have been a lot of fun.
I thought about it for a millisecond and realized I'm not prepared to go on the road, but.
It's a different animal than what you've chosen to do. You can keep yourself.
But I actually love that when we can work with the same band all over Northern California and be with them for 3 days. You really get to know them.
Yeah.
After the first day, you kind of do, and then you really get to know them by the third show, and that's always been great.
Well, food and time has an interesting ability to do that, to bring people together, to kind of create an atmosphere where you can, speak a little more. You might spend more time having a free conversation than you would if you were sound tech and we're just running and gunning behind stage. It's a different thing. It's funny because I know you've been here many times when different folks have come in and out. And we have a lot of friends in the industry that come and visit and for other business reasons and stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, you. So what? And then you guys start talking about what they do, and he goes, I've seen you at all these shows, and I never knew what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because we tend to interact with your staff more than you. So we don't get to interact with you very much because we're just like, give me that cheesecake, bunch of roadies. But yeah, it's been interesting.
That's so true. And I've been watching your show.
Yes, sir.
And I know just about every guest I've worked with them. I'm like, oh my God, I never know what they did.
Yeah.
Some of the guys I've worked with, even your brother, I've worked with and done. We were talking about how many shows, and I had no idea. And when I saw George up in Tahoe at Florence and the Machine show.
Sure.
And I know who George is. I really didn't know what he did.
His job is hard, I get that because when you see George on a show site, which is not often, my brother doesn't really, he's forgotten more shows than most people will ever do in this modern context.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of approaching the work, we used to do tours back in the day, used to be longer, bigger, you do more dates. And so, but at some point, particularly with my brother, he'll come out we have a thing where it's called Kiss the Ring. You come out and you talk to the people you're working for, not when you're working, that working for you. Not necessarily that you don't talk to him, it's just, he's not there to check in on us. We don't go to shows that often to check our crew. We got some serious professionals doing that work and we trust that they're doing their job. We go to talk to the client really and say, hey, we're here. Right on. Thanks for having us. That's kind of the role that I think he plays, and otherwise he's just on the phone making deals. That's just what he does.
So he was the first guy of all these different guys that I know, and I always see him backstage and don't know what to do. He actually took me out to the console and says, this is what I do. And later on, when the show goes on, come out here, because this is a great place to see the show.
It's actually the best place to hear it, too, usually.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that's a sweet spot. Wherever we tend to drop the board, now, not every show's like this, but where we place front of house is what we call that area.
Yeah.
That real estate tends to be the sweet spot in the room.
Yeah.
Not always, but most of the time. And then he's not wrong. It's a good place to see a show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was interested in, I know you did the catering for something that was special to a lot of people. It was the Jerry Garcia Memorial in Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. That must have been huge.
I don't know if the city of San Francisco, when Jerry died, all of a sudden realized that there was everybody that owned a Volkswagen bus was headed to San Francisco with everybody that could fit in the bus.
And other buses, too.
Yeah.
Their entourage was insane.
It was Bill Graham Presents got together with the mayor and said, we've got to do something. We have to get all these people in one spot. So they decided to have a memorial at Golden Gate Park. This all happened. I think I got a call on a Thursday afternoon, and they wanted me to feed a couple hundred people, in 2 days.
Wow.
So we just put it together. I was working with Mary Condi, great gal, and we put this whole thing together. And as far as the catering is concerned, we were able to feed all the people that put it on, and it turned out to be a great event.
Yeah, that has to be fun. Or at least interesting. Probably fun's the wrong word to describe that moment, but yeah, a lot of people feeling some feelings and missing a legend in the music industry, the San Francisco music,
Yes.
Bay Area music, and Jerry Garcia doesn't get any bigger than that. I know you did some catering with Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
I never got to work with the boss. I've actually never even seen him live, which is unusual. Tell us, was there any special dietary needs, any special preparation that had to go in to do that?
I don't remember anything like, there's some artists that I truly remember because they have a lot of dietary restrictions, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really remember that so much, but it was Another Planet's first show, and it was
sure.
at AT&T Park, and so we got the opportunity to do that, and I actually snuck out and watched part of that show. It was amazing.
I'm sure.
But there wasn't any particular challenges to it other than just, trying to make sure that everything is perfect as usual.
All right.
Getting everybody fed on time. And this was Another Planet's first show, so, I wanted to make them proud. I was proud to be doing it, that they even asked me to do it. But it was a great show.
Yeah, pretty big, to come right out the gates for Another Planet, who are now a pretty major concern in the rock and roll production game, throwing shows, to come out of the gate at AT&T Park, which is also known as Giants baseball field, and throw a Bruce Springsteen show. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Woof. That's a thing. I know my brother did Stacks and Racks on that from Sound on Stage, I believe, at the time that we provided the gear for that. But I was off on some other mission.
I'd actually worked with, maybe that was after that, but I'd also done a show with Bruce Springsteen at the Paramount. And it was just like him and a small back line, and he was playing the piano and singing.
Wow.
Not the E Street Band, but,
an intimate performance with Bruce Springsteen.
Amazing artist and songwriter. And,
He's
I love seeing
incredible
all sides,
Yeah, sure. No, from what I understand, very sweet guy, and good to the crew, and one of those guys. But you couldn't be more right. I think his first part of his career had a lot to do with writing songs that his record company didn't believe in, and other artists did them and made these huge hits. And that was where his first success came from. Actually, other people covering his work, because he had a record company that was just a bunch of dummies.
Yeah.
They were dealing with pure gold right there.
Yeah.
We've had that back in the day, I want to say 20, 25 years ago. The Chinese Tibetan thing was going on, and so we decided to throw up a concert, to do some stuff to send some aid and relief to them. It was a charity thing. Do you remember this? The Tibetan Freedom Concert.
Yes.
And it had, I think it was Rage Against the Machine. Let me dig around this. Rage, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Sublime. I mean, this was a hell of a show.
Yeah.
This was no small thing. And me and you kind of touched on it recently, and you had a couple of special memories from it. What do you remember from doing the Tibetan Freedom Concert, which was a massive thing?
Well, first of all, that was the first festival that we ever did.
Okay.
So I was working with Betica and Peter Barsotti from Bill Graham Presents on it.
Sure, yeah.
But they had all the Tibetan monks there. Mm-hmm. And so they came to us and they said, we need you to make yak tea.
Uh-huh. Did you know what that was before?
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a very special thing.
They gave us all the ingredients, and all we had to supply was a burner and a big pot, but we had to keep it brewing constantly.
That's correct.
Yak tea is yak tea.
It is. It has its own very specific
aroma
smell to it. If you're not familiar, just trust us on this one. It is a special thing, and so good, bad. What was your feeling on the whole thing? Did you enjoy it? I mean, getting your shoes wet in the festival.
I loved it. It was the first time I had to really figure out how to set up a field kitchen, because in Golden Gate Park there's really no facilities. They have water and they have electricity, and the rest you got to provide. So
that's correct.
So I operate mostly when I'm outdoors with propane equipment, and I set like a whole deal up, and we were able to keep up with all the demands and kind of make it happen, in the field.
Yeah. It was your first big test. And what a test. I mean, what a special event, for a very important cause.
But the Barsottis were great to work with, too.
Barsottis are legendary. Just, face it, that team, that family.
I have to say, most of the people that I work with as far as promoters and stuff, they rarely do they put a lot of pressure on you. kind of just like make you feel comfortable so you can just do your thing. And that's been a wonderful thing.
Well, that's not. I haven't had the same experience that you had, but I'm glad that it went that way for you. I mean,
glad
with
they're
some,
on you and not me.
no shit. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, but with some, of course, there's some are better than others,
Yeah.
and it's always a slightly tense relationship between vendor and promoter.
Yeah.
But the Barsoti's, head and shoulders above many,
Yeah.
and straight up pros. I mean, that family's it was like some of those families that produce Rockstar and how these successful hit. The Barsotis are like industry folk, and if you want your shit done right, go to the Barsotis, no doubt. Have you been keeping yourself busy since this whole? I know some stuff has slowed down for you, just like it has for us.
Yeah.
And being a deli owner and essentially a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
Have you been keeping yourself busy during this whole COVID thing? What's been the secret?
Well, unfortunately, I had to lay a lot of my staff off,
That's
just
rough.
not work for them, right?
Sure,
So,
sure.
so that means that a lot of the work that was done by the staff is now done by me. So I'm staying really busy,
Oh boy.
picking up all the slack, and the deli's open Monday through Friday. We still have corporate clients that are like the ones that when I come and visit you, I have one right down the street here in Hayward.
Right.
So we're still doing that. We're not nearly as busy as we used to be, and I'm a guy who has to stay busy.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
What are you running at percentage-wise? 25, 40, 50%?
10%.
10%?
Yeah.
Man. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, that's rough.
Oh, buddy. Well, my heart's with you, and I hope that rebounds soon. That's rough to keep it.
But you just have to take that equation and you have to cut back wherever you can to keep
Sure.
going until things pick up. And I know they will. My glass is half full.
Yeah. When you need to go out to, you have your like a little mobile trailer you use when you have to go out to certain events that rolls up with you. And so, is that a thing?
Yes, well, that's been stationary for a while, but actually, I have a client that wants the bar business right now. Is like anybody had just a bar, doesn't have a bar anymore because without food you can't open it. And so I have one client that we're kind of partnering, and I'm going to set up the kitchen at his spot, and then he'll be able to open, and then I'll be able to do more business as well. So that trailer's going to get some use.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The scratch and back thing, that's great when we can do it. I know that you don't only just do the rock shows and run your deli, but if you can, when a situation presents itself, you reach out to folks and try to help in extraordinary circumstances. I know in 2017 we had what they called the Tubbs fire, which was catastrophic to many lives. And my understanding is you went out and posted up with your gear and cooked for the first responders and some of the folks that had lost their houses in the fire. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we actually, a good friend of mine, Nathan Trivers from the Up and Under, gave me a call, and he had started a GoFundMe page, and he was getting all kinds of responses. And he called me up. He goes, Steve, he says, do you think we could take your kitchen up to Santa Rosa and help these guys out? And so he was working with somebody from the Red Cross or something, and took it up there, and we actually worked with Guy Fieri. That's kind of his neighborhood.
Okay.
So he was like doing all the proteins, and we were doing all the sides out of the kitchen.
Well, the guy's special spot is barbecue. And
There was an amazing amount of I think Rayleigh's, and there was so much food. There was 3 like 53-foot refrigerated trailers full of food that was donated.
That's a lot of
And
food.
so now we just got to figure out make menus out of what we've got.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I bet you helped a lot of people that day.
It just kind of warms your heart,
Sure. Well, and sadly, that wasn't your last time having to do something like that, because then the
true.
city of Paradise, and I guess we'd call that Northern California,
Yeah.
More or less burned to the ground.
Yeah, that was very sad.
It had to have been 80-90% of that whole city just
Yeah.
gone. And you did the same thing during that event? Was that 2019, I think?
Well, we didn't go up and feed the firefighters on that one. Another friend of mine who's part of I think the supervisor of the Contra Costa County Board of Education, gave me a call, and he reached out to the town of Paradise and said, how about if we do grad night for the kids?
Oh, that's correct. I
Yeah,
knew this.
and so I said, I'm all over that. I actually spent a year and a half going to school in Chico, and I actually lived in Paradise.
No kidding.
So I knew Paradise really well.
Sure.
And so I said, sure. And we went up there, and there was one of the few buildings that didn't burn down was a church, and it was a church that was like had the most amazing kitchen.
Wow.
So I was going to bring my trailer up for that too, and I looked at the kitchen. I said, "What do I need a trailer for? This is beautiful."
Yeah, you got it all.
So
right
we
there.
went up there and we did grad night for the kids, which was great.
Yeah, they wouldn't have had anything if you didn't do this.
Well, they had a bunch of volunteers, and they would have done something. But this way, the parents got to relax too.
Wow.
So we kind of took it over and made it all happen. And it was like typical grad night. They were locked down, and so. We had food constantly in front of them, and
Oh, that's very sweet.
but like I said, I lived in Paradise, and basically you take the skyway from Chico to get to Paradise, and there's one back road to get out, but that's it, and that's why so many people perished in that fire, because there's two-lane roads,
Yeah.
and that's it.
It bottlenecked real quick.
When we drove up to see it, it was just eerie because it was just. Everything was burnt and cars were just melted, and then all of a sudden, in the midst of it all, you'd see one house standing.
Yeah, no, I remember
And then
this.
you
It was a
go along, and
strange
everything,
phenomenon.
then there's like one more. And this church,
Unscathed.
it survived, and anyway, that was super cool.
Good stuff, buddy.
Yeah.
That's got to, bring a little to the cockles, as you were. 2017. So, I'm from Monterey. We got my gal's down there right this minute watching this show, I hope, with her mother. And you went and did something very, very special. The first, I think, largely considered the first festival ever performed, ever put on, was in the city of Monterey.
Yes.
It's called the Monterey Pop Festival.
Yes.
And it was Jimi Hendrix, Otis Redding. I mean, everybody played this thing.
Yeah.
And they wisely thought to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that, and I believe you catered that. What was that like?
I did. Well, I've worked the Monterey Fairgrounds many times, so I know there's no particular challenges. As a matter of fact, I had more access to their facilities on this particular event than I had in any of the other shows. Normally, I bring my mobile kitchen and we kind of set up outside and
Sure.
we use the dining area, but this time they let us use the indoor kitchen as well, so that was really nice.
Yeah, very helpful, I'm sure.
We had great weather. You know how Monterey can be a little,
Can get a little
not
foggy
quite sure.
sometimes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, great
Lesson,
weather.
lesson.
And one thing really cool about the concert was that they brought back the Booker T and the MGs were there, who had actually been Otis's backup band.
Yeah.
Nora Jones was there. There were a lot of people that had somehow had a connection with the original.
That's great.
Yeah, it was great.
That must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of actual different work at the fairgrounds, from the Oak Ridge Boys to Black Flag, back in the early days of our career.
So a food part of that.
Yeah.
They came to me at the last one. A guy named Jeremy French that was working with Another Planet
Okay.
came to me and said, "Hey, look, I've got to have some food up all night for my guys. Is there anything you can do?" It's another one of those, wasn't planned, but we're going to do something.
That's called a change order.
And so I think they were thinking that we were just going to find a bunch of leftovers and put it out for them.
Just push it onto a table.
But
Enjoy.
instead we did an ice cream sundae bar. And we had two kinds of ice cream and all kinds of toppings. And every time I see Jeremy, he can't stop talking about it.
How much you love that.
He says, "You saved my ass."
Ice cream goes,
He goes,
far.
Everybody's been raving about it all
That's
night
great.
long. And,
That's really great.
for me, it was something really simple to do, but
Sure.
But, one of those things.
It obviously worked very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Leah
good.
Wilson's asking,
Hi, Leah.
what's the most intimate gig you've done?
Yeah.
Intimate as far as.
Probably close. I was just about to ask you about your work at Aftershock, making catering for a bunch of metalheads. So maybe the opposite of that.
Okay. Well, we've catered for a lot of black tie kind of affairs.
Sure.
That are entertainers. Mm-hmm. Diana Krall.
Oh, she's amazing.
I'm kind of
That's
Frank
cool.
Sinatra.
You cater for Frank.
Yes.
Oh man.
So those, when we get the rider and we get all the information, they want every, you just don't show up in. I couldn't show up like I am now in shorts. I got to have slacks and a white shirt and maybe a tie, and everything's got to be a little more foo-foo.
Sure.
As far as rock and roll, those are some of the most intimate.
Sounds very nice. I didn't know you had worked with Frank. That's a big one. That's definite on the resume one right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Frank Sinatra, for Christ's sake, chairman of the board.
Well, his son was the conductor of the orchestra.
Yeah,
so
that's Frank
I
Jr.
pretty much worked pretty much through his son. But I did get to meet Frank, which was very, very cool.
Yeah.
And
little dude.
Yeah,
Just surprisingly short.
Yeah.
You wouldn't imagine. He's kind of, not at the end though. He had to put on a little weight, not heavy, because he was always a very skinny man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember at the end there, he kind of filled up in the right way. He kind of, it was interesting. But an incredible entertainer. What a voice. I mean, really national treasure. Aftershock Festival, making food for metalheads. You got to spike the salad, do anything with that? I mean, how do we?
No, you know what? They metalheads eat just like everybody else.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't experience that on Iron Maiden, but okay, I'm going to try to take your word for it. But it was good times?
Yeah, very good times.
Right on. Yeah, that's super fun. Paul McCartney. Now, I've had a few guests that have worked for Paul McCartney, and, it's mega. I mean, he's Paul McCartney. It's like British Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And, for just largesse. I mean, I think he's the world's first billionaire musician.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Paul McCartney?
I thought it was going to be a much bigger challenge than it was. Paul McCartney's camp insists that you serve vegetarian food from the beginning of the metal days, the load-in days, until load-out.
Yeah.
So even if he's gone, everybody, the whole crew eats vegetarian. And I thought, doing this for like 7 or 8 days, I'm going to run out of ideas. But thank God it wasn't vegan, because we were allowed to use cheese and some dairy products and that kind of stuff. But
been very limiting.
I think that there was a whole lot of stagehands that came to me and said, you know what, this is really good.
That's great.
We did all kinds of pizzas. We did Mexican food. Eggs are okay for vegetarians. So, I mean, it turned out to be not as much of a challenge as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so then, like, the next time around when I worked with Paul, it was like, my nerves weren't as much as they were the first time. I thought, gosh, I'm good.
I got this. I can do this.
Yeah.
I pulled it off before, I'll pull it off again. We were speaking before in the intro about Kenny Wardell, Bay Area legend, classic human being. And you did his BAMIs from, what, 96 to 2000?
Yeah, I think I did all the original shows, I think.
No, well, there was a little break in the BAMIs.
Yes.
So the original shows started in the late 70s, I believe, and went into, I'm pretty sure the whole 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, so you did the 96.
Well, I think in even one year it was called the California Music Awards.
It's actually, we call it the BAMIs. It gets a little confusing there, but it is the California Music Awards, but it's also the Bay Area music.
Yes.
So, and that's where the word BAMI comes from, is BAM,
yes.
Bay Area music. And so, but was it enjoyable? Did you, any special challenges?
Well, number one, we were volunteers.
Really?
Yeah, we volunteered our services, and basically wherever the BAMIs were, they gave us seats. Or when it was at the Civic Auditorium, they gave us a table for 10. My business in Walnut Creek was 5 minutes away from BAM Magazine's headquarters.
Oh, sure.
And so we already had a good relationship with them, and they said, hey, would you like to do this? You're not going to make any. I said, I don't care. This will be fun.
Yeah.
So we fed the crew, and then we would always set up always had a hospitality room where everybody could kind of go in between sets or whatever, and the entertainers would come in and
like a
we
green
could
room
feed them.
Yeah, check room.
One fun story, if my Linda Perry from
Sure.
Four Non Blondes,
Linda well.
we were serving chocolate dipped strawberries in in our hospitality area. And she came and sat on my lap and had me feeding her chocolate.
She is a very forward woman.
Yeah.
Yes,
But she was fun. Great
She
gal.
actually went on from Four Non Blondes to become quite. I mean, when I say I cannot put emphasis enough on the word successful.
Yeah.
Songwriter.
Yes.
She sells a lot of songs to artists that aren't aware that those are not that artist's songs,
Yeah.
and has done it.
Kind of a Carole King kind of person.
Very much like Carole King person, and many ways actually like Carole King. Very good at drawing a line between for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing woman, amazing artist, incredibly talented. What do you believe was your most well-received dish that you brought to a show? The one that's universal, the one that we all eat up and is gone. What's the thing that we like the most as far as you can tell?
It's been a long road. In the beginning, everybody just ordered meat and potatoes, and then diets came in.
Yeah.
And we've had to evolve as dietary changes have come along. But I would say in the last 10 years, one of the things that we do is an udon noodle bar. That always goes over really well. We'd like to do stations when we can.
Sure.
So you come in and you can get this here and you can get that there. And I think with what's going on now, it's really going to become a big thing, because you just go to a station, you get your food, and it's not like a buffet kind of thing. You go and have it made for you.
Yeah.
We worked for the Rolling Stones like 2 years ago, and that was one of the things at dinner time that we did, and the band members that ate came up and had to tell me how great it was.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
It's always been well received, but when Ronnie Wood comes up and says, this rocks, guy, then I'm like, okay, we're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, you did good. Yeah,
Yeah.
when Ronnie, that's a high compliment from Ron
Yes.
Wood. Yeah. I know you've done some supplemental catering with Ozfest. Did you enjoy that? What was that like for you?
Well, when we did that, at the time, one of my dear friends, Terry McEwen, was doing all the food backstage at Shoreline.
Right.
And when they get a really big show like Ozfest, their kitchen area, they had so many artists they had to deal with. They needed to set up an auxiliary kitchen, and they needed to had to send all the crew over there instead of letting them eat in the normal dining area. So my opportunities at Shoreline were generally when something was so big that they needed a second.
You came out and
So
supported
we would feed all the crew. And
yeah, no, the Ozfest is no small effort. That is a very large, well-attended thing. You've been doing this you've been in the game for a long time. What do you, based on your experiences and what you understand is going on today, you have any sense of what the future holds for us?
Well, it's going to be different.
Think so?
Yeah, it's going to be different, but shows are going to go on. Shows are going to come back. They're just going to be done differently.
Yes.
And I think it'll be a while before everybody feels like they can just go back to the way things were, and that may never happen. We're just you and I and everybody's going to have to just approach it in a different way.
I think the buffet thing will probably go away for a while. Which was always my favorite approach to it. You just kind of get the amount.
Well,
you
the salad
want,
bar,
Yeah.
At Outside Lands, we put together this absolutely enormous salad bar.
I can attest to this. It was a fantastic, wonderful. I mean, it was.
Everybody's not going to touch the same utensils or whatever else. It's going to be different.
It's definitely going to be different.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I really appreciate you coming out and representing, as a roadie and representing, I think, some roadies with this group here and what we're doing. We appreciate you more than you could possibly know. And if you haven't been thanking your caterer at shows, guys, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the guy.
Come on, right?
He cooks some of the best
do
food.
it right. Make sure they know, okay? The feedback goes a long way. We really appreciate the service you provide, how well you do it, with the professionalism and the cool and calm demeanor that you bring to the table, and the love you show us here at Sound Image. Thank you very much for coming on our show. It was an absolute pleasure to talk with you tonight.
Well, I'm looking forward to all these guys that I've come to know from your show that I already knew but didn't know what they do. Now I'm looking forward to getting back to it, because I'm going, now I know what you do.
I'll tell you, I won't lie. We put this show together so you would be able to recognize faces and what to do, because Any service we can provide, my brother, to you is,
There we go.
our honor. Thank you for coming on.
You got it.
All right, buddy. Hey, listen, it looks like we've had some. Oh, look, it looks like Susie Dugan. Hi, Susie. How are you, sweetie?
Hey.
And it looks like, oh my God, Jacqueline Canterbury. Jackie, she's one wonderful, true, one and only love. Thanks for coming in, honey. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Jorge Eduardo got out to us, the best catering in the business, and a dear friend. You tell him, Jorge. That's Jorge Eduardo.
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Yes.
That's my brother. he's messing with us a little bit. Not what he said, but in his name. That's very good, brother. Thank you, Daddy. Dana Robinson, I really enjoyed last night. Should put it on the list. I will see you in a regular part of my screen time. Almost right on. Thank you, Dana. We'd love to have it. Now, Pat O'Doul is...
He just said his internet went down. He's all right. He's back.
We have to speak about Pat. Pat is a friend of the show. He's a badass in his own right. He was sitting and he noticed, well, I got a lot of crap on the table. I won't go into why. But he's noticed the cards. And so he made us some cards. Mikey, come on. And so he's deck of cards, right? Check this shit out. He made a deck of cards with my ugly mug on it. Very sweet. He sent us 10 decks. That is very cool of you, Pat. We really appreciate it. And with the pirate, this you can only read this letter in pirate speak because, as you know, we are pirates, and it's really kind. Pat went out of his way. Thank you, Pat. You're very kind, and it was very sweet of you. Our good friend of the show. Oh, wait. Let me check in real quick. Crew Music Asia. That's Clint. Hey, Clint. I hope you're having fun over there. He's out.
I told him I just finished a bag of jerky, and me and Micah were flashing flashlights at you the whole time.
You got to be careful what you give my people, Charlie, because they're children and they're gonna act up. So so Charlie sent us some gifts because that's what Charlie does, and we love Charlie. Charlie, thank you. You're a sweet man. And I got a report from my wife that you sent her something too. That was very kind of you, Charlie. You're a very good friend. We appreciate you very much. And we appreciate all of you guys, all the viewers. You know, we do really do this for you guys. We get to play with our stuff and hang out with our friends, but we do this for you and to support our pages, our closed Facebook group. So we hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, and send in your address if you want a package from us. If you want some swag or anything like that, get a hold of me or Vinny and we'll send you something out.
Absolutely. What the kid said, definitely we will do that. We need sizes. Tell us your size, okay? You know, large, medium, extra large. Most of us are extra large. Yeah, that's a whole nother show. But yeah, send us off some information, and we'll send you back a little goodie bag. You know, I couldn't do this without the support of the crew. And Charlie, thank you for the neat little gifts, little odd shit. It is so perfect to be on the desk, and I love the jerky. Thank you, brother. And my love to you. Keep care of yourself. Remember, you can see us on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch every week. We have podcasts out on Amazon Music, Google, Pandora, Stitcher, iTunes, and Spotify. So you want to hear the audio version of this show and the mini that we've done. I believe this is episode 27. I'm not exactly sure, but we got a few of them. Please check in with us. Next week, we're having the one and only Winston Dama. Now, Winston Dama, when I reached out to Winston, and I've been knowing him for a minute now, and I know he's got this ridiculous resume. You think you've done a lot of shows. And I asked him, well, you know, Winston, help me out so I can write the show. Send me your list of the bands you've worked with. It's 7 pages long. And I'm not joking. Wait till you meet Winston. Winston is an all-around badass and has worked for pretty much everybody. Currently, he is the Pointer Sisters front of house guy, but I'm not kidding, 7 pages. And of amazing artist, 30 plus years in the business, incredible engineer. He's going to be on next week. Please check him out. We couldn't do it without the good and loving support of Sound Image Productions and my dear brother Jorge Eduardo, and our fearless leader David Stone of Southern California Sound Image. We thank you guys for allowing us this space.
Thanks, Dave.
The gear, we get some help from the gear. The cameras come from LSV, that's large screen video. You want want to go big, you want to see a big LED wall, yeah, you call Large Screen Video and talk to Cameron Brown. He will hook it up. They're some of the greats in the industry. And again, we miss you, John Rigney, and love to the whole crew over at LSV Large Screen Video. The good people at slowfiber.com, they help us out with some masks and sewing needs, drapes, stuff we get up to. They're good with all things fabric, sewing notions, and so on. They provide us masks so guys at our other shops can feel safe and comfortable working. And we appreciate you, slowfiber.com. Thank you. Reach out to them if you need some of these things. And of course, Chef's Touch. Now, you want some good, you're putting on a show, and you want to eat right, and you want a person that is stand up and honest and does his job well, reach out to the good people at Chef's Touch. I'm telling you, I've never had a bad meal from this man. I've never had, he's the best. You reach out to him. He can provide you with a hell of a service, and it's just wonderful and a treat. And I do, once again, thank him for being on the show. We will do this again next Thursday. Oh, wait, I almost forgot to thank you, kids. We got a lighting director. Our lighting guy is Alan Pettibone. Thank you, Al, for making us with the lights so people can see us.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah, Al is a good man. And of course, Michael Brown back there, like just operating everything. I can't state that enough.
Legend.
Michael Brown. I'm going to put a camera over there and force him to, like, when I go to this moment in the show, I'm going to make him like.
You just have one button
Yeah,
over here that overrides
do
everything.
this kind of thing,
We're
look
showing
back
your
and
face.
just so you can see this guy is crazy, and his Video Village would impress the shit out of you. We got a lot of gear over there, and so and Mikey's running it all. Thank you, Michael Brown, and then my good friend Kyle Thomas, and all the good things you help with and being on the show. Thank you, my brother.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, brother.
Of course, Daddy. I don't have you. You're just a part of a thing. Yeah, this is a joint team effort. Again, we'll be back next Thursday with Winston Dama. Please tune in. It should be a really good show. Until then, be kind to each other, take care of each other, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you again. Good night.